Hello friends, my name is Shayla and today I am here to do a list style video for you. So today we're going to be talking about shonen manga for shoujo readers. I did a similar spin on this last year after there was some controversy with some shoujo licenses. So I will leave that linked for you. I did call it Shoujo Rex for male readers. I do wish I would have made that for shonen readers, but you know, hindsight's always 2020. I have been tempted to go back and change the title on that video, and I might even before I upload this. In the thumbnail, you'll say it's for male readers, but you know, live and learn. It's part of what you do on this platform. So in this one, we're going to be talking about Shonen Rex for shoujo readers. I do know that a lot of shoujo readers do read some shonen, but I know there are some who like vehemently protest against this. I want this video to serve two purposes because this might also be a gateway for some people who primarily read shonen who are thinking about starting to read shoujo. These might be some places where they can start and see how they feel, you know, incorporating maybe a little more romance or whatever, and slowly working their way into shoujo as well. So I've been rambling on. Let's go ahead and dive right into the recommendations. So the first one we have here is actually a BL title, and that is Classmates by Asumiko Nakamura. In this one, we are following two high school age boys who end up running into each other at school, and one very clearly has feelings for the other, and then the other just kind of doesn't know where they're at in life. They're kind of floating through. They're very career driven, and so they're very focused on their studies, and things kind of grow and develop from there. This is a really sweet, amazing BL. It doesn't really get super sexual until the third volume. This is complete at 3 volumes. And even then, it's not overly graphic. So that can be something you can ease yourself into also if you've never tried BL before. This was really sweet. I highly recommend it. It's a well fleshed out relationship, which is why it made this list. And I highly recommend people check this one out. This is one that I was even a little bit hesitant, as I'm not a huge reader of BL, to jump into, but I've ended up really enjoying my journey with it. So definitely try Classmates if you are interested in this one. The next one is one of my all-time favorite manga, and I thought it was shoujo for the longest time, but it is actually a shonen, and that is The Ancient Magus Bride by Kori Yamazaki. And in this one, we are following a teenager named Chise who basically puts herself up for auction because none of her family wants her. And she has specific magical powers. And she ends up purchased by Elias, this creature of the night who has a skull head and is a magical creature, but also is a mage. And so he, in purchasing Chise, releases her from the slavery aspect of the purchase and just takes her on as his apprentice and teaches her magic so that she can better handle her own magical powers. This one, he does buy her with the hope in the future that she would become his bride. But it's mentioned very briefly in this first volume, and then they don't even really talk about that for a really long time within the series. So it's not super romance heavy, but there is that romantic undertone to things. And it's just really well done. They treat each other as teacher and student in both ways in the series. And the most recent volume of this does talk very heavily about labels that we give people. It is just a really well done series. It currently has 12 volumes out in the US. I'm not 100% sure about anywhere else, but it is ongoing. So we are current with Japan, so we only get a volume every 6 months. So do be prepared for that. If you end up binging the first portion, you're like, I want the next one. They're long waits. We usually get them in like February and September. So just know that going in, but I really love this series. I highly recommend it in general, but as a shonen, like as a primarily shoujo reader, I had no clue this was shonen until I looked it up. So definitely look into that one. Next up, we have a battle shonen that surprised the snot out of me, and that is Angelic Layer. I've talked about this several different times on this channel, but this is essentially following a young woman named Misaki, and Misaki moves to Tokyo, I believe it. So she's there to move in with her aunt, and she stumbles across this man who introduces her to the world of these little battle robots, and they're called angels, which is why it's called Angelic Layer. So it's essentially a tournament arc of Misaki battling with her little battle angel. And it's absolutely fantastically done. It has almost a VR element to it. So the angels are controlled remotely, and it's like recorded for TV, so it's high stakes. It's really fun. And Clamp's art style is just so romantic and sweeping and just lovely. I really enjoyed this series. It blew me out of the water. And so this is one that if you're thinking about jumping into shoujo, I highly recommend checking this one out because it has a lot of the battle shonen elements, but done in a very pretty, whimsical kind of package, and I really enjoyed it. Next up is one that might surprise some people that it's on this list, but I'm putting it on here anyway, and that is Astro Lost in Space. This one is by Kenta Shinohara. So in this one, we're basically following a group of teenagers in the future who have been sent to this planet to go on a field trip without supervision, essentially. So they're basically left on a planet for a week to kind of, survive and hang out, and it's almost like a vacation, and then they're supposed to go back home. But what happens is as they arrive at the planet, there's this orb, and it transports them clear across the universe, and this is their journey back home. So it has a very Star Trek Voyager almost feel to it, but believe me, they are definitely not the same story, so don't even think that for a second. But I think it's very character driven because they're all trapped on this, ship essentially trying to get back home, and it's really well done. There's a mystery undertone to all of it, and I really enjoy it. And it's 5 short volumes, so it's a short, easy one to read. So I think it's worth a read. I really enjoyed this little space adventure, and I think other people would too. I know this made the rounds in the booktube space for a little while, so if you have not tried Astro Lost in Space, I recommend you do. Next up, we have probably one of the most popular sports shonen in the universe, but that is Haikyuu. This is essentially about 2 boys striving to be on a volleyball team, but in middle school, they were absolute rivals at each other, they want to beat the other, and they end up going to the same high school, so they would end up on the same team. This is a very character-driven story. I absolutely adore this. I've read the first 6 volumes. This is a really long investment, so do be prepared for that. I have started watching the anime, and the anime is fantastically done and fantastically voiced as well, in my opinion. So this is one that I feel like is almost a rite of passage if you're going to be reading shonen. If you want to try a sports one, like this is the one that I got recommended the most out of sports. And I don't regret it. It's such a good time. And I really love these characters. I never thought I would care so much about boys playing volleyball in my life, but I love these boys and I'm really invested in what happens to them. The next one is Welcome to the Ballroom by Tomo Takeuchi. Is how I want to say that last name. Again, please forgive me for my Japanese pronunciations. And in this one, we're following a young man named Fujita, and he sees this ballroom dancer and he wants to become that. So this is basically him learning ballroom dance and training and trying to be the best. And it's really well illustrated. Like the panels are fantastic and very realistic. Being somebody who was a ballroom dancer for a period of time, I related very much to this manga, and it's really well done. I do recommend this as a whole. There is a shoujo ballroom dancing manga called Let's Dance a Waltz, but I do think in a lot of ways this one is done more realistically. That one's more cute and centered on the romance, where this one actually has the ballroom dancing elements to it. So again, this is one, I don't know for sure how many volumes are out. I think 9, and we're getting 10 very soon. The cover's been dropped for that one, if I remember right. But I have only read this first volume. I'm itching to get my hands on the others, but money. So as soon as I get the finances, I will be collecting the rest of the series because it is fantastically done and I highly recommend it. Next up is one of my current running favorites, and that is Magus of the Library. I will say this one is very text heavy. So if you do not enjoy text heavy manga, then this might not be your thing. But essentially we're following a young boy named Theo who is half elfish creature, half human, and he loves to read. So he keeps sneaking into the library because he's not rich, so he's not supposed to be in the library at all. But he's made a little friend and she sneaks him into the library, and basically all he wants to do in life is to become a magus of the library. So a keeper of the library, kind of like Well, like these women here on the back. And so that is Theo's greatest wish. And so Theo wants to protect all the books and all the things and all of the knowledge. And Theo's journey is amazing. I absolutely love this series. I highly recommend it with my whole heart. I really love it. And this is one that I think everybody should read. And especially any book lover. There's a specific panel I have to show you. It's this. This sold me forever on this series. And I love Theo, and yes, I will ramble forever if I don't stop now. But yes, try out Magus of the Library. The next one is another one that, you know, just enter cautiously and know who you are when it comes to this one, and that is Silver Spoon by Himuro Arakawa. This is the same mangaka who does Full Metal Alchemist as well. I've tried to keep the most popular series off this list. Haikyuu is probably the only exception to that. But yes, in Silver Spoon, we're following Haichiken, this young boy, and he enters an agricultural high school, even though he doesn't necessarily have agricultural aspirations. He was just feeling a lot of pressure school-wise from his parents, and so he opts to attend this other school far away from his parents so that he can kind of breathe and figure out what he wants out of life, not what his parents want for him. And it's so well done. It does heavily have you experience what happens in the agricultural industry, what happens to the animals, how everything is made, all those kinds of things. So if you know that you aren't so comfy with that kind of a situation, like, you know, check yourself. You might not want to read this one, but this is so well done. It has 13 volumes out right now. Volume 14, I believe, comes out later this month. And I love every volume as I read it. I'm never bored when I read this. I'm so invested in the characters and what's going to happen to them that this is one that I think everybody should read. It's just an everybody read, not just shonen readers, not just shoujo readers. This is one everybody should be reading. Like, it's just really good and really well done. The next one is kind of a harder hitting one, and it's very emotional, and that is To Your Eternity. Essentially, we're following this being who starts out as an orb as they figure out humanity and why they have been placed upon Earth. And that's all I'm going to say for a description, because I feel like the less you know about this series going in, the better off you are. And the more you will enjoy the journey and enjoy and understand and respect what Yoshitiko Oima is doing. This is the same mangaka of A Silent Voice. You know, that's obviously another fantastic shonen that shoujo readers would love. But again, I'm trying to do less popular series. So yes, To Your Eternity, it's a journey. I've cried in almost every volume. It's so well done. Highly recommend the series. And last but not least is a new release that will be out on Tuesday, but it is now officially complete. The last chapter has been published by the mangaka, and that is Blue Flag, or Aono Flag, as you may have heard it called around the community. So essentially this is about teenagers figuring out their feelings when it comes to romantic relationships, their sexuality, all of those kinds of things. It is so well done. This is definitely a very character-driven story, and there's all sorts of feelings, all sorts of things going on. But essentially, we have Taichi, who is friends with Toma. And Toma only goes out of his way to speak to Taichi. And this young woman, Futaba, notices that Toma does that with Taichi. So she recruits Taichi to help her get to better know Toma. And it's really interesting. It's really kind of Love Square-ish. It's really well done. I highly recommend it, and it's the best. I really just enjoy it. I'm really excited for the rest of the journey. I have not read the other chapters. I've only read this first volume, and I'm highly invested until the end. I think it's going to be a journey and a fantastic one, and I just recommend it as a whole. So friends, those are 10 series that are shonen series that I would recommend to shoujo lovers. And let me know in the comments down below if there are any others that are shonen that you would recommend to a shoujo reader, because all the recommendations are always welcome. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.